Hello, welcome to our special noodle class. We're talking about udon 101, like fundamentals of udon, with the focus on Sanuki Udon. So I like to say welcome to Sanuki Kagawa today, and so we're talking about Sanuki Udon today, and like the basics of udon noodles. And so you'll be able to, like, by watching this class, you should be able to learn how to make superb Sanuki Udon from scratch, as well as how to make like really good Sanuki Udon dishes. They're as simple as the one you should be able to, like, make at your restaurants from scratch. So, please stay with us. So, we're basically 45 years old on this business of noodles, and so we are basically manufacturer noodle machines designed to make, authentic, great textured, fresh noodles on small scale. And we also ran a noodle school here in Kagawa, and we have another location in Tokyo where we have, like, exactly same facilities to teach how to make noodles, how to make soups, how to make toppings, everything from scratch. So we have a lot of, like, people, like, who want to start up their own noodle restaurants, learning at our school. And we have many customers using our machines in different countries, over 60 countries or more. We have offices in Japan, including one in Tokyo, Osaka, big cities. We have an office in South Korea, another one in Singapore, and the one in Netherlands and New York, United States. We have partners in different countries. And so we are basically a group of noodle making experts who help our customers, their businesses, by providing equipment, training, recipes, whatever they need to succeed in the business with quality noodles. So today, that's it. That's what we are. And today we are talking about fundamentals of udon. It's something special for us because, like, our headquarters is located in this prefecture called Kagawa, where it is a home of Sanuki Udon. So, like, FYI, Sanuki is an old name of Kagawa Prefecture, and so we are talking about, like, fundamentals of udon cuisines, as well, like, uniqueness and cultures of Sanuki Udon cuisines today. All right, so what we're talking about today is, like, what's udon, what's great about udon cuisine, what are the trends, right? So the most famous udon in the world, which is Sanuki Udon, and the basics, history, features, eating cultures in Kagawa, and how can we make, like, udon noodles from scratch, right? Ingredients, production methods, and we're actually going to show how fresh noodles are made from scratch in demo of our machines. And in the kitchen, we're going to show you guys a few examples of Sanuki udon dishes, and we're going to finish this class with questions and answers. So during the class, if you have any questions, please send them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them at the end. So let's get started. So this is an evolution tree diagram noodles. Like, we have a page dedicated to in our noodle making textbook, which is available on our website. It briefly shows the evolution of noodle types branching out to the present. It's partly the history of, like, how humans continue to develop ways to consume wheat. They started farming thousands of years ago. There's an area in China where a vast field is cultivated for wheat for consumption. That was where many of wheat consuming methods, especially turning into noodles, were developed. Production method of udon was said to be brought from China to Japan by a famous monk thousands of years ago. And because of that, udon was slowly spread and shaped, adapted from, well, actually temples. So Over the past few hundred years, right, regular consumers started enjoying udon as daily meals, and so we end up having a variety of different types of udon dishes with unique features throughout Japan. We now know as regional udon. These udon dishes are very different in noodle texture, size, soups, toppings that usually come with the noodles, or even how the locals in the region perceive udon. So some see udon as casual, everyday food, whereas people in the other regions see them udon as something that they can only have on special occasions. So what is udon, right? There are many forms of udon. We can think of it as in terms like these components. So there are noodles, soup, sauce, and toppings. So this is very simple noodle dish that is usually served in hot soup with toppings. So Sanuki Udon like originates in Kagawa Prefecture, taking the name from an old name of Kagawa. And it features thick noodles that are firm and bouncy. The soup made of like dry sardine, kelp, and other dry fish ingredients, and soy sauce and other seasonings. So the simplest version of Sanuki Udon dish is a bowl of hot soup noodles with chopped scallions as toppings. So it's a bowl of noodle soup that brings locals like immediately to their home, like soul of food Kagawa Prefecture has. Sloppy noodles gives like some sort of like temporary sense of like peace of mind. The soft but firm noodles, light broth, the subtle flavors of dry sardines. Um, Sanuki udon got very popular throughout Japan with so many Sanuki udon specialty shops emerging, making it as almost famous as udon equals Sanuki udon in the minds of many Japanese. Some of the famous chains of udon specialty shops brought it to overseas, making it making this noodle cuisine the world's most famous udon. So what is great about udon shop, right? So well, that's the ultimate answer to this question. Maybe it's simplicity. The quality of what a udon shop offers may come down to the quality of its noodles, which are ultimately the textures, right? And we've been emphasizing this in the previous classes. Of course, it has to make the components of the offerings great as well, but like unless we have great noodles, it'd be difficult to make its offerings attractive to customers. So in a sense, the performance of udon shop may depend on its ability to produce strong noodles consistently. In terms of operations of a udon shop, right, this means having proper equipment and operational flow, which is made possible by having an effective flow plan, right? So we actually help our customers write their flow plans. They're like in a way that that makes the operation like effective and efficient. So I'm showing you a sample floor plan that's for self-served udon shop that's very popular in Japan. So this is a udon shop where you can have a bowl of udon noodle hot soup dish for a few dollars. For the lack of better words, this is sort of like a low end of like an udon shops where customers would have to do a bit of work, right? Like carrying a tray of food they ordered to their seat and then taking their empty dishes back to the kitchen. So this kind of setup makes the low pricing possible by eliminating as many serving workers as possible. So the shop staff can focus on things they have to do inside the kitchen, like making and cooking noodles, preparing broth, making deep fried stuff and other side dishes. So customers come and make an order for noodle and soup. They move along the lane where a variety of freshly fried tempura and other items available for pickup. There's a cashier register at the end of the lane to bring them up. So the hungrier we are, the riskier we are to end up paying more and eating more than we should. This kind of udon shop. And so this was one of like udon shops types like with the lower pricing points, but there are others that provide full services with higher pricing points. And there's even fancier or higher end udon shops that command higher average sales per customer. And all the success ones have in common are great noodles. So they structure their offerings around their noodles that consumers crave for. And typically the ones that command higher pricing function like noodle bars, where customers can enjoy a variety of drinks, side dishes, and great customer services. They typically charge like 2 to 3 times higher for a bowl of udon noodles compared to the self-serve udon shop we talked about. So this type of udon shop, like maybe something we can consider to do. So continuing to talk about Sanuki Udon, right? That's which is the most famous and or like popular type of udon noodles in the world. So this is the place where this noodle cuisine was originated. Um, it's actually the smallest prefecture of all 47 prefectures in Japan, and it is one of the four prefectures in island called Shikoku, situated in southwest of Japan. The total population is a little shy of like 1 million people, and most famous for, yeah, you guessed it, udon. There are over 700 udon shops in this tiny prefecture, and most of which are like mom and pop shops, each having unique offerings, noodles, soups, toppings, and side dishes. And the basically primary source of tourism, this prefecture actually. So there's even like special taxi you can rent for a day that'll take you from udon shop to udon shop. They call this taxi as you guess it right, udon taxi. So there are so many other good things in this prefecture, but because of the overwhelming presence of udon here, they're next to nothing. Okay, so what you find in a typical, I'm sorry, so there are actually three modes of operation in Sanuki Udon shops in this Kaga prefectures. Like the first one is um, full service. So, full service, like it's like a regular restaurant, right? It's like you go in and like, if there's a like table available, like you sit down and you order from the menu, and they're usually like they have like a variety of product like offerings, right? Right, you can choose from, and the pricing relatively high, and you don't have to do anything. You just sit there and then like eat, and you pay and leave, and so the service level is high. Another one is self-service. The type of restaurant like we shop, like we talked about. So you enter the restaurant, right, and then like usually you have to like get in the line because like usually like there's a line of people like waiting to order, right? And so you first order udon, and then the pricing is relatively high depending on like what you end up getting. Um, they have like yeah, variety of products offerings like, but like not too many. And customer engagement, like, so you have to do a lot, right? You have to like take a tray, pick up your udon, a bowl of udon, like, and then move around the lane, and then like just pick up like whatever you want, and then carry the tray, find your seat, and then eat, and take back the your dishes. And so that's a lot of like things you have to do, this self-serve restaurant. And then there's another one that's like it's basically noodle factory. So their main business is manufacturing of noodles, right? And like they wholesale, like retail, and but like on the side they do this business like just dining in kind of like, so they have like kind of um, there's probably like a few several tables that you can sit at, and some of them even like kind of require you to bring your own bowl, right? And then they don't. Some of them like don't even have like broth, right? So you have to take your own bottle of like soy sauce or something, and then like they just give you like cooked noodles, and then in a bowl like and then you pour your like soy sauce and then eat it. So you just like get like just one serving like cooked noodles like for $1 or $2. So this is some special udon shop that you can come across like in Kagawa. So if you have like a chance to come to Kagawa, like this is the kind of udon shop you must visit because I don't think like there's anywhere else like in Japan that this kind of shop exists. So and so what you'd find in typical Sanuki udon shop, like if you had a chance to visit one in Kagawa, of course like udon plus some kind of soup or sauce, toppings and side dishes, right? And then let me explain like each of them in more details. So when you order at a Sanuki Udon specialty shop, right, you're hit with the following choices. The noodles, right, and then soup, sauce, and toppings, and side dishes, right? So like size of noodles, typically small means one serving of cooked noodles, which vary from shop to shop, but like typically 200 grams in the weight of cooked noodles. Medium, 2 servings or like 1.5 servings. Large, 3 or 2 servings. And there are usually bigger options that are available. And you'd have to be very careful here because each shop may have different definitions of one serving. There are some shops that start cooking your noodles after picking your serving size. So they ask you this first. Then you need to choose whether you want the noodles to be served. So some of the shops actually offer you some options, right? Whether you want the noodles to be served in hot soup, um, cold kamage, like which is like served without like washing starch off the noodles. More about this later, or other options. And some udon shops have options for like soup noodles, so they can serve you like warmed noodles in cold soup or chilled noodles in hot soup. It sounds pretty weird, but like this type of option is available at some udon shops because some locals here are obsessed with noodle textures. So typically, Sanuki Udon specialty shop can offer 3 different noodle textures out of the same noodles. One of them is for hot soup. This type of noodle is typically cooked, washed, portioned, and warmed when they get an order. That texture is soft and clean because the starch is washed off, and the cold noodles are cooked, washed, and chilled with ice water. This type of noodle is firm and sometimes hard because outer surface of the noodles are hardened from the ice water temperature. Then there's another one called kamaage, which means like right out of the boiling pot. Noodles are cooked for a shorter time than the other types and picked out for one serving and served in a bowl. So these noodles are soft, but like give you a bit of like kind of slimy texture from the starch that's still on the noodle surfaces. Because noodles are still hot, they would keep cooking after served to customers. And among these offerings at Sanuki Udon Shop, because of the noodle size, serving of noodles takes the longest time. So it's a bottleneck in operations of udon shops. So noodles cookers are usually large enough to be able to like cook certain amount of noodles at a time. So the soup sauce, traditional soup sauce is a hot soup, cold dipping sauce, kamage dipping sauce, and sauce used on bukkake dish, like which I'll explain more about in a minute. All of these soups or sauces are based on one stock that is made from a combination of seafood ingredients. We usually make the base stock we call shirodashi or like white dashi, typically using kelp, dry sardine, we call niboshi, dry squid legs soaked in water overnight, and adding kaishi or base sauce seasoning to it at different ratios makes different types of soups and sauces. Kaishi or base sauce is made of soy sauce, sugar, mirin, shiitake mushroom, etc. And the base stock can be used for broth, um, the cooking ingredients for oden, and for curry soup. Right, then toppings. So Sanuki udon like inevitably comes with tempura or deep fried stuff. Because udon noodles, like especially when served in hot seafood broth, it's rather plain. So this may be why someone decided Sanuki udon needs tempura, which gives the bowl some heaviness. There are usually variety of tempura using different ingredients, with popular ones being prawn, like squid legs, eggs, and sweet potatoes. So tempura plays a vital role in offerings of Sanuki Udon shop. Though udon shop may charge $1 or two for a piece of tempura, it adds up, right? And it helps increase the average sales per customer. And always having freshly fried tempura may be a reason for some customers to keep coming back to that udon shop. There are other side dishes like such as oden, right? Oden is like rich a variety of ingredients like fish cakes, daikon like eggs, some pieces of beef meat, konjac, etc., soaked and cooked in dashi. They're usually cooked in the white dashi that we talked about like for a while, and then so they are very, I mean, soaked up like good amount of like dashi in them. So the main reason why udon shop offers this is for customers to snack on them while waiting for their noodles to be cooked, which sometimes take up 10 to 15 minutes. Customers eat oden with special miso paste and or Japanese mustard. So having an option of oden maybe is something unique only Sanuki Udon specialty shops have. So there are other noodle dishes that you may come across like at the Sanuki Udon shop, and one of them is called bukake, which is the cooked noodles like with the starch washed off, placed in a bowl, and we take a special sauce and like pour it over like the noodles and stir everything well and bite into the noodles. This is refreshing as we can experience the noodles texture more directly, and usually the noodles are very firm, giving us a lot of bite. Another udon dish maybe nabeyaki, which is udon noodles in hot pot. This is a small hot pot like for individual like one person with the clean fresh udon noodles. So and it gives us like sense of relief and like peace of mind, biting into soft noodles with sweet seafood dashi. There are other distinctive dishes that are like unique to Sanuki Udon cuisines, but like if I keep talking about them, like it'd be another hour or two. So let's move on to another topic, which is how we can make great Sanuki Udon noodles from scratch. So yes, so this is a noodle texture chart like we've been using like in the previous classes, and it's like today we are talking about udon noodles. So it's high in water content and it's low in protein content of flour we used to make this dough, right? And then the noodle size wise, like it's pretty big, like thick, like 2.2, like over 2.2 millimeter. So it's a thick noodles, but like soft and chewy noodles. And for the wheat of the flour like we use for udon noodles, we talked about these in the previous class, especially the last class. So please, for those big guys, like who are interested in like learning more about protein, starch, like what they do to the noodle texture, please check our previous classes for more detail. Like you can maybe like find it like on our YouTube channel. Yeah, so like basically like so starch like makes protein makes the noodles hard, like higher the protein, the harder noodle texture, and the starch, right? Starch, like we are talking about, like viscosity, like elasticity of the noodles, like making the noodle the higher the this amylose like amylopectin ratio, the chewier the noodles, and then how can we find wheat flour with the higher amylopectin ratio? Is that like we use this kind of like measuring device, right? Measuring device to measure if you a particular flour that you're thinking of like using for your Sanuki Udon noodles, whether it has like higher amylograph value or not. You can send your flour to us, you send us a sample of flour, and then we can actually test it for you. We have this machine at our factory, our company, and we to test the bounciness or like flexibility that flux yeah, elasticity of the noodles that we can make out of the flour you sent to us. So, and it's for free of charge. So yeah, and this is another chart that we use to describe like different types of like udon noodles. And so we udon noodles being soft, chewier. So the x-axis represents like viscosity value, like Brabender unit. So that's the measuring device that we use, like Brabant machine. Then the unit of measurement for the viscosity is like we go BU. So the higher the value, the more elastic, like more viscous. And the y-axis is the protein content of flour. It's between like 7 and 9%. So Sanuki udon noodles, like it's on the higher, like harder end. So it's hard noodles for udon noodles, but like it's very elastic, like very chewy. And Kyushu udon noodles are like actually the softest udon noodles in this major types of udon noodles. So udon noodles consist of like solid ingredients, liquid ingredients, solid ingredients being wheat flour. Inside wheat flour, you need to care about like protein, ash, viscosity value. Liquid ingredients, of course, we use water and salt and vinegar. And we use this kind of, so there are like some variables that we need to like consider when constructing the noodle texture recipes. So that's something you need to, yes. And then especially like udon noodles, we use a lot of salt, and we went over this in the last class as well. But like basically like we are making like 12 to like 15% like salty level like salt water, which is like way saltier than like seawater. And we add this salt water to the flour to make dough. And we basically use a lot of salt to like kind of like activate the like enzyme on the wheat to bring up the like flavors of the wheat. And then like also at the same time like add salt like to keep the acidity down, and also like keep off the like growth of bacteria. And then like there are other benefits we can get like from using the salt. And so that salt to udon noodles is like kind of currency to what a currency to like ramen noodles. And so yeah, so that is something like we use to make dough for udon noodles. And yeah, we talked about this as well. Like so, the temperature matters. Like when making dough, the ideal dough. So higher temperature. Um, we should have like add like less water, but like add like more salt, and vice versa. So something you need to remember. And vinegar. So we add a little vinegar as well. It helps like optimize the resting processes, and keeps dough from spoiling and control pH level of cooking. Okay, so we talked about this as well, like in the last class. So please check back the recording. And when it comes to the noodle textures, like well, bringing the noodle texture to the ideal noodle texture that we want our customers to experience. Cooking of noodles, cooking part is like very important as well. And then um, why I'm talking about here is after in terms of ingredients is that like salt and vinegar. We even though we add a lot of salt, most of it like is gone into the cooking water. So we don't taste saltiness at all actually in the noodles like we went to bite when we bite into them. So yeah, so yeah, we don't we shouldn't be worried about it. And production methods, we also talked about these in the last class, but like basically, so we are trying to like develop a gluten structure inside dough, and we I kind of explained in a way that like like try to like develop gluten um, structures inside dough, like it's like kind of like developing like our like physical muscles. We have to walk him and but like you have to like walk him out like kind of like to the point where it's um yeah, but like to the point where like we have to also like rest them to like kind of for the muscles to like kind of like recover and grow again. So yeah, so we need to do the same thing and then like mixing. So we need to like measure the ingredients, like the right ratios, and then like we mix them, right? The solid ingredients and the liquid ingredients um, at the certain ratios, and so mixing is very important, like to when like to develop like gluten structure, and then what's happening in the mixing process is the agitation, granulation, like all these like particles like flowers like coming together bit by bit, like through liquid being added to it. So and then so we need kind of right rotational speed. It's like 60 to like 75 rotational speed per minute for agitation granulation to happen. But basically, like we are, also trying to do is that like we are trying to like promote like good hydration of dough, which is also helped in resting process. And we do a lot like resting process and at the temperature, right temperature, like 20 degrees Celsius after mixing, right, and for 2 hours. And what's happening in the mixing resting process is that like hydration, good hydration, and degassing, and enzyme like being activated to bring out like good wheat flavor, and then of course like the kind of like muscles, resting like relaxing muscles of the dough. And so this is the optimal resting temperature and time. Okay, and after that, like we do the development of gluten structure by walking the dough and pressing, right? And so yeah, in Kagawa, right? In Kagawa, Sanuki Udon places, like people still do it actually, like by um, stepping on the dough with their feet to develop the gluten, develop dough, work the dough. But of course, like they have like they're like kind of protective like sheet over the dough. They don't step on them like directly with the bare feet, but like yeah, that's what they do still. And after that, like they do the another like second phase of resting. It's like down at 18 degrees Celsius, like for 24 hours. So that's the how they make the dough for Sanuki Udon. And so basically the next day, right, people coming and then start thinning the dough, right, and then cutting and portioning and cooking, boiling and washing, chilling in case of when they're serving cold dish. And so getting the ideal noodle texture is like as I said, like it's a life, almost like a life of udon shop. And so getting the right ideal texture is very important. So we sheet the dough, right, thin the dough like gradually, little by little, to keep the gluten structure intact, right? And um, in the noodle machine, compared to like ramen machine that we've been using like in previous classes, in udon machine like uses kind of smaller rollers, like in terms of diameters, and because we are not adding like too much pressure to the dough because it's a soft dough, high hydration dough, so we sheet them with that like smaller rollers. And we use this cutter. It's like a knife blade, and we cut it. We thin it, right? We thin it, and they cut it at the width of like 1.5 meter, 1.5. I mean, sorry, 5.0 millimeter, and thickness like 3.0 millimeter. So this cross section, the shape, this size is very important as well, like to get the right noodle texture. Why? Because like when we cook the noodles, right? When we cook the noodles, the noodle absorbs cooking water from the side where it's cut, like cut surface, and the noodle, like how the noodle expands um, after like absorbing the water is like it's differently. And so if you have like this shape, right, like with this larger than thickness, um, after it's cooked, it becomes like kind of square shape, right? But like with that four sides kind of dented inwards, these are where like these dents kind of carry the soup, right? And then it's like so when you bite into noodles, like you are also tasting the soup as well. So the size matters. Okay, so and then as I said, right, like cooking is also like very important process when bringing the ideal texture of the Sanuki Udon noodles. And there are three types of noodle textures. Sanuki Udon shop like can bring out of one type of noodles, and one of them is hot soup noodles. So basically, like we cook them, like and wash them, and we when we get an order, like we warm them, right? So like warm, like soft. And kamaage, that's like picking up the noodles like right out of the boiling pot and just serve it, right? Just serve it in a bowl. So the starch, right, on the surface of the noodles like kind of gelatinized and like kind of slimy. Um, and then kamaage is like very efficient in a way that like the cooking time is like the shortest. Um, the cold noodles like it actually takes the longest cooking time, and then I'm gonna explain in a minute. So cooking noodles is very important. So like I have to like emphasize it here, all these points. So amount of water, right? First, so you need to prepare like 10 times the weight of the noodles you're cooking. So for example, like if you're cooking like 1 kilograms of fresh noodles, you should at least prepare 10 liters, over 10 liters of water. And cooking temperature is very important too. So, you have to like bring it to boil, and before you put the noodles in, right? So, and then you have to like keep the temperature like around like 98.5 degrees Celsius throughout cooking. And cooking time varies from serving style to serving style. And and it like I forgot one thing like about like cooking temperature. So like once you put the noodles in, like you need to stir the noodles, um, kind of like trying to like spread like all the um, noodles out. and getting like all the areas like noodle surface like kind of exposed to uh, the hot water as quickly as possible to because like cooking temperature like drops like once you put the noodles in, right? But like you want to get that temperature back by and as quickly as possible, right? So like you need to start the noodles um, as quickly as possible, like to kind of spread them around, and then get that all the areas like noodles like kind of exposed to the cooking water as fast as possible to sort of like get that like kind of temperature like it kind of evenly into the noodles, and then get that cooking temperature like back up like as fast as you can. So that's why like you need to like stir it and then like make the noodles like rise to the surface water as fast as you can. Okay, and then so like hot soup udon noodles we call kake, and but this includes also like kind of curry udon as well. And so like so you need to like make the boil, bring the boil right, and then like start quickly to make noodles rise on surface, as I was talking about. And take the texture to see if the noodles are ready, right? And then take the noodles out and wash the starch off the surface. And it's almost like you need to like rub them off, like kind of like really with the strength. I mean, then and then you portion them, right? Portion the noodles and to predetermine like serving sizes, and so you leave them there, and then like when you get an order, you take a serving and then like warm them, and then you place noodles in a bowl and they pour hot soup in it. So like noodles first and then soup. And kamage udon dish like with starch on, right? And then so the same process, but like you're cooking them for like shorter time than hot soup udon noodles, and check the texture to see if like noodles ready, right? And then pick one serving of noodles out of the boiling pot and place in the bowl. And for certain karaage style noodles, like they served in cooking water in the bowl, and then typically they have like dipping sauce right in a separate bowl, right? To a dipping noodles. But like for certain other like kamage dishes, like so they only have like they serve like cooked noodles in a bowl, right? And then like they pour the sauce over it and then like kind of mix it with like other stuff like kind of eggs or whatever to eat it. And so there are different versions. Zaru, this cold dish. So same process, but like you're cooking them for a bit longer. And then you take the noodles out, maybe like noodles and then wash the starch off the noodle surface, and put noodles in the chilling bath to chill noodles and portion them. And so place a serving noodle like on a proper plate when you get an order, and sub the noodles with dipping sauce and condiments. So hot soup noodles, cooking time about like 8 minutes, and it's starting to be washed off. Kamage, cooking time is about like 5 to 6 minutes, served in cooking water without starch washed off. In Zaru cold noodles, cooking time is about like 10 minutes or longer, and starch needs to be washed off and chilled with ice water. Because like when you are making like whole noodles, you need to chill them, right? So that hardens the noodle texture. So you usually cooking them for longer time, usually. All right, so that's what I had for the lecture part, and then um, Megumi, my colleague, is going to make superb Sanuki Udon noodles. The noodle machine that we're using today is it's called Shinuchi machine, and this machine is the only one machine that's it's got everything that you can make fresh Sanuki Udon from scratch, and so we have over here we have ingredients. And so like flour, wheat flour, the protein content of like 8.5%, and the ash content is pretty low, 0. Less than 0.38%, and viscosity is high. Viscosity we talked about, like measuring like barbending machine that we have over there. That's over 850 BU. And look at this amount of salt we're adding to it. Like this is so we're making it like 12 to like 15% salinity level like water, right? So we're adding this much of salt to the water to make salt water, and it's vinegar. And vinegar can be like any kind of like a grain, vinegar like made up of grain. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so this machine has this mixer. This mixer mixes up like 12.5 kilograms of wheat flour maximum. And on top of it, you're adding the liquid to it, right? And so we start mixing just with the flour um, to get some air into the flour particles. And while we are mixing, so she's trying to dissolve like all the salt into the water because it's a lot of salt, right? You know, you need to like really thoroughly dissolve it to like, so you have to like sort of really stir it well. So just make sure all the salt are like totally dissolved into the water. So we measure the salt, right? We measure salt like in terms of weight, and but we can also actually measure using the refractometer. We have a refractometer that measures the salt. Okay, so we have a question like, so how much the salt like we adding for 1 kilogram of a flour? Um, let me um, let me calculate it. So, for example, 15. So you're basically making like, let's say like 15% salinity level of water, right? So there's so if this is 5 kilograms of flour, and then the hydration ratio is well 50%, so that's 2.5 kilograms of salt water. Inside this salt water, right? So that 15% of it is salt, right? 15% of it is salt. So basically, like that's like 375 grams of salt, and so for 1 kilograms, that's sorry, for 1 kilograms, right? That's like 75 grams of salt. But as I said, like when you cook them, when you cook the noodles, almost like 90%, like 95% with salt, it's dissolved in cooking water. So yeah, and then while we are mixing it, she prepared the dough beforehand. So she's going into the pressing, right? So this part, it's a muscle development part, right? So we are working the dough, working the dough, and But as I said, right, here in Kagawa, like, certain udon shops still walk the dough by stepping on it with the feet, right? And then it's actually, it sounds like fun, right? But like it's actually a lot of work, actually. It's, like just stepping on them, stepping on the dough, right? But it's a lot of work. It takes actually almost like 30 minutes to be done with that stepping, foot stepping on the dough. It's a lot of work. Like you get sweat actually by doing that. But like using this press machine, you know, just a touch a button, right? Just touch a button and then just wait. And so this press unit can apply like tremendous amount of like pressure into the dough. Like see that, like how flattened the dough is, right? And then you should fold it inwards. So because like certain areas of the dough didn't get that pressure, so we need to evenly apply the same amount of pressure, right? The entire areas of dough. So we want to like fold it, right, a couple times, and then like press it to apply, um, like good amount of pressure throughout the dough. So the mixing. So first she added actually like just 2 thirds of the water, right, and then she mixed it for like 4 minutes, and she's mixing it for another minute, and add the rest of the water. This process like allows for the good hydration of dough. So we add the liquid little by little to allow for like good hydration of dough. And so this is the third time of pressing. So notice that like she's folding in different directions. I didn't know. So she's pressing it again. Okay, so the mixing is done. So just 5 minutes of the mixing, and so as for the press, right? Press. So we're done with the third round of pressing. So we usually do it like 3 to 5 times, depending on the condition of dough, right? So for this dough, so she did like 3 times of pressing, and so the dough is ready. And because this dough is like walked up, right? So like we need to like let it rest. So it goes into the second resting process. But like before we put in the resting process, we have something called like aging machine that controls the temperature inside. And before we put them in there, we should divide it into the pieces that are small enough for her to be able to like kind of handle it, kind of sheet it in the next day. So this is something you should do like kind of like for it, like efficient operation. So yeah, there are layers of like dough, kind of like folded, right? It's like there are layers and like so this is like what your dough, your Sanuki Udon dough, um, like how you want the Sanuki Udon dough to look, and so that like there are layers of dough and then like because they are like walked up right now, so we need to rest them. And remember the temperature, and that's 18 degrees Celsius. And we need to, yeah, these those like those like muscles like really tired, so like we have to like rest them like for 24 hours. So the next day, so she comes in and then like so she takes the dough out of the aging machine and start sheeting it one by one to make dough. Yeah, so make sure that it's all like sealed up and like to keep the dough from drying. So just putting the dough into the aging machine so that there's a temperature displayed, right? And it's like she set that temperature to like 18 degrees Celsius, like, but now the actual temperature is like 24.6. But like now, like the cooling system, like this kicked in, so that like temperature inside is being cooled. Okay, so we can actually wait for this dough to be ready, but like that's not gonna happen like for another 24 hours. So like she prepared the dough yesterday, right? That's very clever. And so look at the dough, like it's very different. Like it's very moist and soft. It's like ready to be um, sheeted, right? So so this dough is like it's very viscous, like it's very elastic, and it's very sticky as well. So like we should dust it very well. We should dust it very well, and she's kind of pressing it to basically like flatten it for the dough to be able to like go through the bar. And so, as I said, like, this machine has like a rollers, like set of rollers, right, that are like kind of small in diameters because like this dough is like, it's very soft. So we don't want to apply like strong pressure. So the dough is like, I mean, the rollers are like small. And so she is thinning it gradually. And so you see that like she's kind of shifting gears towards the bigger numbers, and that means that it's narrowing the roller gap between the rollers, but like little by little, gradually. So see the like how the dough is getting thinner, right? And maybe you've like noticed that like she's inserting the dough like in different directions. This allows this dough to have um, kind of like being like kind of rolled like sheeted like in different directions. Then it's kind of getting stronger, um, kind of like in a multi-directional ways, so that like when you pull the dough like in different directions, it's pretty strong. But like in case of like dough sheet that's like sheeted in a ramen machine that allows you to do like just one direction, then if you pull the dough uh, sideways, then it's pretty weak, like so you can whip it. But like this dough is like it's pretty strong. I mean, in terms of like when you pull it sideways, like in different directions, like it's strong. And so this there's a display in here like that actually shows the thickness of this dough sheet being rolled, being sheeted. So it's changing like 4.2, 4.3 millimeters. That's a thickness with dough. And remember that size is very important, like for noodle texture, right? And so like we are aiming at like around like 3 millimeter thickness. It doesn't show. Okay. Maybe one more time of sheeting. So again, like this dough is like very soft and sticky. So you need to dust it very well. So so the dough, um, this dough sheet like, well, has different yes, like it's like 6.0 millimeter, but like it's double sheet. So each sheet should be 3.0 millimeter in thickness. We need to like measure it that way because yeah, the core like center of this dough is like the thickest part of this dough, and then like the edges are like kind of tends to be thinner. So we need to measure the center of the sheet to be able to like get the precise measurement of the thickness. And we need to fold it. We need to fold it to kind of fit the dough to the width of the cutter. This dough is going to be right to, and turn it like, and then this volume actually adjust the width of the cut width. So because this volume like controls the speed of the conveyor belt that's going to the cutter. Um, so you can, and then there's a switch over here, like, so there are like 4 channels of the volume that you can adjust to, and then like you can just switch them around to the kind of predetermined cut width. So it's cutting now. And after it's cut, the noodles are like fall. Noodles are like noodles fall like into the tray that's moving, like kind of like collecting the noodles, right? Noodle strands for a reason. And so like once it's done, like it stops, right? And then like when you take the tray out, the noodles also like lined up like beautifully. And then you need to like again like dust them well. So you can only dust them, and then um, kind of flour we are like using for dusting is like actually the exact same flour that we use for udon to make the dough. But like if you are like kind of well putting them away like for certain period of time, then like you should use um, the starch to like keep them from sticking. So kind of she's kind of dividing the noodles, kind of straightening them up, and then dividing the noodles to sort of like portions, but like it's more than like one serving. I'm definitely sure about that, but like kind of portioning them like to for like easier handling, like when you do the cooking. So that's how you make Sanuki Udon noodles like from scratch on this Shinuchi machine. And yeah, these noodles are very, very good, like in terms of noodle texture. And then, um, so, again, like, well, you can make basically like three different kinds of like noodle textures out of these same noodles by cooking them at different, you know, timing. Okay, so let's move to our kitchen. So this is our kitchen, and it's where we conduct our classes, Udon School, Ramen School, and yeah, Soba School as well. And so at this school, like we conduct like our culinary sessions, like where we produce noodles, soups, variety of like different soups and like toppings and everything like from scratch. So like this is like what we teach, like everything from scratch. And this class is like very small class, like just up to like 8 people, because like we want to have like kind of like very deep um, learning sessions, like from like one person. And so each student has like his or her own idea for like what kind of ramen they want to make, what kind of udon they want to make. So we do take like preliminary surveys to find them out, and then um, we prepare for that, and so that's how we conduct the classes. And then so at the end of the day, like students can take on like their own unique recipes, and then also they have like other students like who have their own ideas, and they can work with them, and then they can share the recipes as well. So, and we have a lot of like graduates for successful noodle shop owners. So then like we've been doing that for like past 20 years. So we have a lot of recipes accumulated in our database. So and then let me introduce our chief instructor, Mr. Akeda, and he's gonna show us some great Sanuki udon dishes that you can actually do at your restaurants as well. So thank you, Mr. Akeda. Thank you. Okay, so let's start cooking udon noodles first because it takes long time. So just putting the udon noodles in a, remember that we need to have boiling water, right? We need to bring the water to boil before you add, before you put noodles in. And once you put noodles in, like the cooking temperature like usually drops, right? So make sure you stir it, you stir them. We talk about like stirring them like to kind of spread them around like as soon as possible, like to expose each strand of noodles to the cooking water as quickly as you can, and then then so that like kind of the the drop of like cooking temperature like kind of disperse like well, and to bring that cooking temperature rise up again. So you need to like kind of like start them start them like first, and then so you see that cooking temperature like kind of increasing to that temperature like we said that 98.5 degrees Celsius, right? So the noodles kind of start like kind of swimming around, so like that's sort of like ideal condition. So while we cook them, Mr. Ikeda like is gonna explain the menu. So one of them is like she's gonna do is a bukkake style. udon noodles, we talked about in class.
冷たく洗ったうどんに、濃いタレですね、をかけて食べるうどんの料理ですね。
So it's like we wash them and chill them to the noodles, right? And it like pour this special sauce and then plate it in with these toppings.
こちらでもう一つが変わり種ということで、カルボナーラ風のうどんですね。
And another dish that like he's doing is it's kind of like a pasta kind of style, like udon noodles, and something that easily you can do like at a restaurant.
うどんは比較的癖がないので、どんな料理にも合います。
So udon noodles like basically like very plain, so like they go well with like any kind of like styles of like cooking.
はい、ではですね、先にちょっとこちらを炒めていきます。
Okay, let's first do the carbonara like udon and start the
オリーブオイルですね。
so olive oil
ニン
and
ニクとベーコンですね。
garlic, minced garlic, and then bacon.
少し色づくまで炒めます。
So I'm gonna stir fry them like until the color changes.
こちら炒め終わったら、別のボウルにですね、取っておきます。
So once they're like done, cooked, I'm gonna take them out in a bowl.
で、そのボウルにソースの材料として、生クリームとか他の材料ですね、すべて合わせます。
And in the bowl, I'm gonna add like other ingredients like cream and like things.
ベーコンやニンニクがですね、少し色づく程度ですね、タレに炒めてあげてください。
So we're gonna stir fry them like until the bacon and like garlic are kind of colored.
ボウルに出しておきます。
So these are done. Okay.
ではこちらに他の材料をつけていきます。卵ですね。卵ですね。
So the egg
で、チーズですね。粉チーズですね。
and Parmesan cheese, like this kind of powdered cheese
で、生クリーム。
and cream.
で、こちらがだしです。白だし。
And that's the white dashi that we talked about in the class.
鰹節とか昆布とかそういったもので作ってるだしです。
So that made up like kelp and like bonito.
こちらを混ぜてあげてください。
So I'm just gonna mix them up.
で、ここに茹で上がった麺を入れて混ぜます。
And I'm gonna put the cooked noodles in there and then mix them up.
今日は茹で上がった麺をそのまま上に乗せて食べる釜揚げの際の麺をこちらに混ぜていきます。
So this is the style that we talked about in class, like in the lecture part, kamaage, it's like right out of the boiling pot. So
これは最後に乗せる。
and so this is the yolk that I'm gonna put on the top of the noodles.
じゃあ、加わりましたらこちらですね、こういったもので作っていく。
So the kamage, we don't like we don't wash them. So we just as soon as like the noodles are ready, like we're gonna pick them out, like just about like just one serving of the noodles and then put it in the bowl. It's usually like it's usually like 4 to 6 minutes of cooking time, but like we should be able to tell by like kind of well, touching the noodles, like kind of like just checking the texture.
今日はおよそ茹で上がりの麺の状態で 300g 程度になります。
And so today's the one serving be like just 300 grams, like in terms like the cooked noodles weight. And stir them well.
このように全体にソースがまとわりついてるんですね。
And just make sure that like all the sauce, cheese, and everything like are just like well, I mean, coating the like noodles well.
全体で持っていきます。
And I'm gonna plate it. And black pepper.
卵ですね。
And put egg yolk on top.
あと横にパセリですね。
And parsley. Okay, so that's carbonara, Kamage Udon. And it's very simple and easy to make, but it's very, very delicious. Right, so next would be the bukkake udon noodles, and it's cold version of the bukkake udon noodles, and then well, Mr. Keto pick this dish because this dish is like great for takeout menu as well. Because like we cook the noodles and like wash them and like chill them. So chilling them, like kind of being cold, um, they last in terms of like noodle texture. So it's gonna be like really good takeout dish, takeout item.
じゃあ、いただきます。
Okay, so taking udon noodles out into the sink, right? Like full of like water, and then you need to this part like you need to like really wash them, like almost like rub them like with a strong force to get that starch off the noodles. There's a lot of starch actually on the noodle surface, and you need to get move them like as much as possible. And after that, you have another sink where you chill them, and so this is like when the noodle texture like kind of hardens. So that's why like you are cooking the noodles like longer than like like for example like hot soup noodles and other types of noodles like curry noodles and other things because you're chilling them here and that hardens the noodle texture and look like how like he's like kind of collecting gathering the noodles and kind of like combing them like make them straight.
これ、まとりしておいて、
So
そこから温め直したりするのを
so basically like portioning them right this way. So like when you make a ramen noodles, like you portion them like when you actually make them like the fresh noodles, but like in terms of like udon noodles, like you cook them in batch, and then you portion them. So it's a very different process.
じゃあ、これ盛り付けていきますね。
Okay, so let's plate it. So you need to like calm the noodles, and then like kind of to make them as straight as you can, and like so it's gotta like it's very very beautiful, right? Like
じゃあ、盛り付けていきます。
and so we're gonna plate them.
これ、ホールですね。
So this is a daikon radish like well ground daikon radish like on the center, and
生姜ですね。
ground ginger and
ネギですね。
chopped scallions.
ここちらがスナップ。
And this is a type of citrus that's kind of famous in like our neighboring prefecture, like Tokushima. Like it's called sudachi, and it's got like this bitter taste to it. And
そうです。
putting the bonito flakes. It's beautiful, and so this is the kind of well the bukkake dish that you come across like and when you uh, when you have a chance to like uh, visit one of the Sanuki Udon shops, and then so she prepared this tempura as well, like variety of tempuras, like and then one thing you be able to like notice like in this tempura is that like there's the usual suspects like prawns and everything, but like pumpkins, and then there's a egg, right? There's an egg in there, and yeah, we deep fry egg. That's a bit weird, but like, and then like if you cut the egg, right? So it's still, you know, the yolk is running. That's beautiful, and so that's like what you can have when you visit one of the Sanuki Udon shops here in Kagawa. And but this is sort of like well sophisticated version of Sanuki Udon, and like the well most of the Sanuki Udon shops like you go to like are like rougher. I mean, in terms like what you can get, but like they're more I think like authentic. So yeah, um, yeah, we are really wishing that like you know this situation with COVID like it can be over like as soon as possible so that you guys can visit Kagawa and you know binge eating Sanuki Udon. Just take udon taxi and then like visit like 5 shops in a row and just just binge eating Sanuki Udon like and then get like as much as you can of it till you get fed up with it and then like you don't want to come back here like for another I don't know but like thank you so much for coming visit Kagawa today and we hope to see you soon in Kagawa in reality and we hope that's going to happen like pretty soon so thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. Bye bye.